Commander Rourke stood inside the dark, dusty trading post on the edge of the galaxy. The air was thick with smoke, the walls rusted and covered in alien graffiti. He was here for one reason: trade weapons with the Vrakel smugglers. These aliens were tall, scaly creatures with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth. Rourke had made many deals before, but this one was different. He needed fuel and supplies for his ship, and the Vrakel wanted advanced human guns in exchange. Everything was going as planned until the Vrakel leader, Gornak, suddenly grinned with sharp teeth and said, "We don't have enough credits, human, but we offer you ... her." Two Vrakel guards dragged forward a metal cage. Inside, a girl sat, with her head down, silver-white hair covering her face. Her skin was smooth and purple, her body thin but graceful. She wore a torn black suit that looked expensive once, now dirty and damaged. Rourke frowned. "I'm not a slaver. I don't deal in people. She is not just a slave," Gornak hissed. "She is special, worth more than credits. Take her or no deal." Rourke looked at the girl. She didn't move, didn't speak, just sat quietly with her knees pulled to her chest. But something about her was ... strange. She was too clean, too perfect for a common slave. Her posture was proud even in chains. His crew whispered behind him, urging him to reject the deal. But Rourke's gut told him otherwise. "Who is she?" Rourke asked. Gornak laughed. "A gift from a fallen world. Some royal brat sold off by her own people. She fetch a fine price on the black market." Rourke didn't believe him completely. The Vrakel were liars, but they sometimes spoke half-truths. "Fine," Rourke said, finally. "I'll take her. But if she causes trouble, I'll come. Back for your heads." Gornak only laughed louder. The deal was done. The Vrakel carried the cage onto Rourke's ship, the Iron Raven. Once on board, Rourke stared at the girl. She kept her head low, saying nothing. He had seen many slaves before, but none like her. She had long pointed ears like an elf from old Earth stories. Her hair shined like silver in the dim lights, and her face, when she finally glanced up, was the most beautiful he had ever seen. Her eyes glowed softly, like twin moons, but they carried sadness and pride. "What's your name?" Rourke asked. She said nothing. "Can you speak Galactic Common?" He tried again, still no answer. Rourke sighed. "I'm not your enemy, but I need to know who I just brought onto my ship." She kept staring, watching him carefully, as if measuring his soul. She wasn't afraid. She was ... waiting ... later that night. Rourke spoke to his second-in-command, a tough woman named Briggs. "This is a bad idea, Commander," Briggs warned. "We don't need trouble. For all we know, she could be a spy or a weapon." "I know," Rourke admitted. "But there's something wrong with this picture. No slave sits that proud. No common girl has that kind of beauty or grace. She looks like ... royalty," Briggs scoffed. "Royalty? Out here? In chains? No way." But Rourke couldn't shake the feeling ... as the ship drifted through hyperspace. Rourke visited the cargo hold where the girl sat. She hadn't eaten, hadn't moved much. He placed a plate of food and water near her cage. "You'll die if you don't eat," he said. Slowly, she looked at the plate. Then, without a word, she reached for the water. Her hands were elegant, her fingers long and graceful. "Good," Rourke muttered. "At least you're alive." Suddenly, as she drank, Rourke noticed a mark on her arm, a small glowing tattoo hidden under the dirt. He leaned closer. The symbol wasn't random. It was an emblem he had seen in history files, a royal crest from the lost house of Elindra, an empire that vanished years ago during a civil war. His eyes widened. "Who are you?" "Really?" he whispered. Still, she said nothing. But her eyes met his, and in that look, Rourke saw it. She wasn't just a slave. She was someone important. Someone powerful. And he had just bought her from a smuggler who didn't even realize her true worth. Rourke stood up, his mind racing. If she was from House Alindra, there would be people hunting for her, either to kill or to control. He wasn't sure what storm he had just walked into, but one thing was clear. This was no ordinary slave. This was the start of something far bigger than Rourke could imagine. The Iron Raven sailed smoothly through hyperspace, stars stretching like white streaks beyond the ship's thick windows. But inside the cargo bay, the air was heavy with tension. Commander Rourke stood silently, arms crossed, staring at the girl in the cage. She sat perfectly still, like a statue, her silver hair draped over her shoulders, her purple skin glowing faintly under the dim lights. She looked like a figure from a forgotten legend, not a slave from a filthy market. Rourke wasn't a man of patience, but something about her forced him to stay. He wasn't sure if it was curiosity, suspicion, or something deeper. But he couldn't look away. Finally, he grabbed a folding chair and sat right in front of the cage. "I know you understand me," he said, his voice calm but firm. "You looked me in the eyes back there. That wasn't a dumb stare. That was the look of someone measuring a man." Still, no response. She kept her gaze low, her hands resting gently on her knees, her breathing slow and measured. "Look," Rourke tried again. "I'm not planning to hurt you, but I need to know who you are. I saw that mark on your arm, the royal crest. I know what that means." At the mention of the crest, her body shifted slightly. Not much, just a small twitch. But it was enough. "You are royalty, aren't you?" Rourke pushed. "A princess, maybe? Or someone's heir?" The girl's lips moved barely. A whisper, dry and cracked, escaped her mouth. "Does it matter ... to a human?" Her voice was soft but carried weight, like someone used to being obeyed. Rourke's eyes narrowed. "It does to me. I didn't pay for a slave. I want the truth. Why were you in chains? What makes you worth a royal hunt?" She raised her head slowly. For the first time, he saw her face clearly, high cheekbones, sharp eyes glowing like twin moons, lips thin but proud. "I am Liara, of House Alindra," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Or ... what's left of it." Rourke's heart skipped. He was right. "I thought House Alindra was destroyed," he said, "wiped out in the civil wars." "It was," Liara answered. "My family betrayed each other. My cousin wanted the throne. I was captured, stripped of my title, and sold off like property." "Why let them?" Rourke asked. "Why didn't they just kill you?" Liara's eyes darkened. "Because my death would unite the loyalists. As long as I'm alive but hidden, scattered factions remain broken and leaderless." That made sense. A smart, cruel strategy. "Why didn't you speak up back there?" Rourke asked. "You could have revealed who you were." "To what end?" she said bitterly. "Who would believe a slave claiming royalty? Besides, trust is expensive, and I've got nothing left to pay with." Rourke sat back, exhaling slowly. She was dangerous, but not because of weapons, because of who she was. A lost princess with a claim to power, hidden in his ship. If word got out, assassins, bounty hunters, and worse would come hunting. That still ... double quote. "Do you want to reclaim your throne?" Rourke asked. Liara looked up sharply, her eyes flashing. She hadn't expected that question. "I want to survive," she said. "And if survival means reclaiming what's mine, then yes," Rourke chuckled. "You're lucky then." "I'm good at survival," she frowned. "Why help me?" "Because I hate slavers. And I hate politics. But I hate bullies most of all," Rourke replied. "And your cousin sounds like one hell of a bully." For a brief moment, something softened in Lyra's expression. She wasn't smiling, but her eyes weren't as cold anymore. "Free me," she said, her voice firmer now. "I won't harm you or your crew, but if you keep me in chains, they'll find us both. And you'll die not knowing why." Rourke stood up, pulling a small device from his belt. With a few taps, the lock on her cage beeped and popped open. The door creaked. Liara didn't move at first, but then she stepped out gracefully, standing tall despite her weakened body. She wasn't a prisoner anymore, not in her mind. "You're free now," Rourke said. "But stay close. I need to figure out what trouble." "I just bought." Liara nodded. "You have no idea that human." At that moment, the ship's alarm blared. Briggs' voice echoed through the comms. "Commander, unknown ships incoming. No idea, armed and fast." Rourke cursed under his breath. "They found you already?" Liara's eyes narrowed. "Yes, they never stop hunting." Rourke grabbed his blaster. "Then let's give them a welcome." Together, they moved toward the control deck. The silent prisoner was silent no more. And the real fight was just beginning. The Iron Raven shook violently as the ship was pulled from hyperspace. Sirens echoed through every corridor, and the deck lights switched to a red warning glow. Commander Rourke sprinted to the bridge, Liara right behind him, her eyes scanning every flickering display. Briggs, gripping the controls, shouted, "3 ships on our tail, Commander." No broadcast, no insignia, but they're fully armed. "Looks like assassins." Rourke glanced at Liara. "Friends of yours?" Liara's face was pale but calm. "Not friends, hunters. My cousin must have known I survived. They'll chase me to the ends of space." The lid ship fired, and a blast rocked the Iron Raven. Sparks burst from control panels, and the smell of burning circuits filled the air. "They're aiming to disable us," Briggs warned. "They want her alive," Rourke's mind raced. Running wasn't an option, not with a damaged ship. He turned to Liara. "Tell me something useful, Princess. Do you have any tricks up your royal sleeves? Anything that'll keep us alive?" Liara hesitated, then pressed her hand to a panel near the navigation console. The panel glowed faintly, as if responding to her touch. "What are you doing?" Rourke asked. "This ship. It's old, but it has Alindran tech upgrades hidden in its core systems," she said. "Your ship once belonged to one of our allies. I can activate a stealth shield, but it'll only last a few minutes." Rourke raised a brow. "You could have told me sooner." "You never asked," Liara replied flatly. With a surge of energy, the ship hummed, and the lights flickered blue for a brief second. On the radar, the pursuing ships blinked and vanished from their sensors. "They lost us," Briggs said, astonished. Liara wasn't smiling. "They'll scan again soon. The shield is temporary." Rourke stared at her. "How do you know this ship so well? If you were in chains your whole life, where'd you learn this tech?" Liara looked away for a moment, then answered, "Because before I was captured, I wasn't just a princess. I was an engineer, a strategist. My father didn't want me to be a helpless figurehead." Rourke was impressed despite himself. "A royal brain and a royal title. No wonder they want you dead." "We need to get moving," Liara said sharply. "If the assassins catch us, there's no mercy. They'll tear this ship apart." Rourke turned to Briggs. "Plot a course for the outer belt. Hide us in the asteroid field. If we can't outrun them, we'll outsmart them." As the crew worked, Rourke pulled Liara aside. "I saw the symbol on your arm. The royal crest of House Alendra. But it wasn't a tattoo, it was a biochip, wasn't it?" Liara nodded slowly. "Yes, it confirms my identity through blood and DNA. No one can fake it. But it also marks me to anyone scanning for royal signatures." "That's how they found us," Rourke cursed under his breath. "Can you disable it?" Liara shook her head. "Not without specialized tools, but if I mask it, I can dampen the signal. I'll need your medbay and your engineer's help." Rourke agreed. "I'll get my engineer on it. But Liara, if you're telling the truth, why not pay me for my help? You must know where your treasure is hidden. I'm not running a charity here." For the first time, Liara smiled faintly. "Help me survive, human, and I'll make you richer than any warlord in this system." Rourke chuckled. "I'll hold you to that, Princess." Just then, Briggs called out, "Commander! The hunters are back on our trail. They've recalibrated their scanners." Lyra's eyes sharpened. "We need to fight." Rourke looked at her, surprised. "I thought royals didn't fight." "I'm not that kind of royal," she replied. Moments later, the ship rattled again under enemy fire. But this time, Lyra wasn't just a silent prisoner. She stood beside Rourke on the bridge, analyzing enemy patterns, suggesting evasive maneuvers, and guiding the crew with sharp precision. "She's good," Briggs whispered. "Damn good." "She better be," Rourke muttered, firing back at the enemy ship's dot as the Iron Raven dove into the asteroid field. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, Rourke felt like he wasn't just protecting the prisoner. He was standing beside a leader. A royal. A survivor. And she was far from done. The Iron Raven darted between massive chunks of rock in the dense asteroid field. The ship groaned with every sharp turn, metal straining under pressure, but Rourke's hand stayed steady on the controls. The enemy ships were still chasing, more aggressive than ever. On the main screen, 3 sleek black vessels with crimson lights cut through the debris like predators. They moved in eerie coordination, as if guided by a single mind. Lyra stood next to Rourke, her eyes never leaving the display. "Those aren't just assassins," she whispered. "That's the Shadow Fangs, my cousin's personal death squad. They don't fail." Briggs swore under her breath. "Personal death squad? Great. Anyone else want to share secrets while we're dying?" Rourke kept his focus, but he shot Lyra a side glance. "If you're gonna drop surprises like that, Princess, now's the time. How do we survive this?" Lyra closed her eyes, thinking fast. The Fangs rely on AI-assisted targeting, but the asteroid field confuses them. If we lead them deeper, their systems will slow to avoid collision. But what?" Rourke asked. Lyra opened her eyes, calm but grim. "There's a gravity well deeper inside. A collapsed microstar. If we get too close, it'll pull us in," Rourke grinned. "A black hole in the middle of a rock field? Sounds like my kind of party." He shoved the throttle forward. The Iron Raven shot deeper into the field. The enemy ships followed, but they began to space out, struggling to dodge the larger asteroids. Lyra stepped closer to the command console. "Give me access to the targeting systems," she demanded. Briggs hesitated, but Rourke nodded. "Do it." Lyra's fingers danced across the controls, her movements precise. She wasn't just guessing, she knew military tactics. She set the Iron Raven's secondary cannons to auto-target the thinner asteroids. "What are you doing?" Rourke asked. "Watch," she said. The secondary guns fired, shattering select rocks in their path. The debris scattered, creating a dangerous field of smaller, faster-moving fragments. One of the pursuing ships clipped a chunk and spun out of control. It slammed into a massive asteroid and exploded into a burst of flame and twisted metal. Briggs let out a cheer. "Nice shot, Princess." Lyra's lips curled into a slight smile. "One down." But the other 2 ships adapted, weaving through the chaos with alarming precision. "They're smarter now," Rourke muttered. "We need a better trick." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We have one last shot. Take us close to the gravity well. If we angle it right, we can use its pull to slingshot out. But they'll have to follow, and they might not be so lucky." Rourke's grin widened. "Now you're speaking my language." He adjusted the trajectory, aiming for the faint, dark swirl on the scanner, the hidden microstar. The closer they got, the more the ship rattled, pulled by invisible force. "Brace yourselves!" Rourke shouted. The Iron Raven shook violently as the gravitational pull tried to seize it. But with a powerful burst from the engines, the ship whipped around the edge of the well and shot forward like a bullet. Behind them, the enemy ships tried to follow. One succeeded, barely keeping pace. The other wasn't so lucky. It veered too close and was dragged into the abyss, vanishing with a silent flash. Only one pursuer remained. Persistent bastards, Briggs muttered. Liara studied the last ship. That's their commander. He won't give up. As if on cue, the enemy ship hailed them. A distorted voice crackled over the comms. Give us the princess, and you may live. Refuse, and all will burn, Rourke sneered. Go to hell. He cut the transmission. We can't outrun him much longer, Briggs warned. We're almost out of fuel. Lyra's expression hardened. I have an idea, but it's risky. Let's hear it, Rourke said. There's a mining station nearby. Abandoned, but it still has power reserves and old defense grids. If we get there, I can activate the grids remotely. It might just be enough to trap him, Rourke nodded. Send me the coordinates. Liara quickly uploaded the location. Rourke changed course, the Iron Raven limping toward the dark silhouette of the old mining station, floating in the void. The enemy ship followed. Relentless as they approached, Lyra's fingers flew over the console. Defense grid. Online. She whispered. Turrets hidden in the station structure hummed to life. Energy cores glowing after years of silence. When the assassin ship closed in, the turrets fired a storm of plasma bolts. The enemy dodged, but not fast enough. 2 direct hits smashed into its hull, sending it spiraling out of control. With a final blast, the assassin ship erupted in flames. Debris scattering into space. Silence returned. Briggs slumped in her chair, exhausted. We're alive. Liara stood still, watching the wreckage on the screen. For now, she said, but they'll send more. Rourke turned to her. You did good, princess. But you still owe me a lot of answers. Starting with this, what's really at stake here? Liara met his gaze, her eyes fierce. Not just a throne, she said. An empire. And the power to reshape the galaxy itself, Rourke chuckled. Of course it is. The storm had passed for now. But everyone on. The Iron Raven knew the real war was just beginning. The Iron Raven drifted quietly near the derelict mining station, its hull scarred from the battle, engines barely running. The crew worked silently, patching systems and recharging energy cells. But Rourke wasn't in the engine bay. He was in the mess hall, sitting across from Liara, a cup of stale coffee in his hand. He stared at her, studying her calm face. She wasn't nervous, not anymore. She was watching him too, measuring his patience. Finally, Rourke broke the silence. Start talking, princess, he said. I've bled, burned fuel, and risked my ship for you. What's really going on? What makes you worth dying for? Liara leaned back slightly, eyes glimmering under the dim lights. You want the truth? Fine, but understand once you hear it, there's no going back. Rourke smirked. I passed that point the moment I opened your cage. Liara nodded slowly. I am Liara of House Alendra, rightful heir to the Alendran Empire. But my empire is gone, reduced to scattered planets and rival warlords. My cousin, Lord Varnes, led the betrayal. He had my parents killed and declared himself ruler. Sounds like every royal family drama, Rourke said, unimpressed. Why should I care? Because, Liara continued, my family controlled more than land or armies. We protected the Vault of Echoes, a hidden repository of ancient alien technology, tech from the old builders. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Old builders? The civilization that vanished millions of years ago? Liara nodded. Yes, my ancestors swore to guard the vault. My cousin wants it for himself. With that power, he could control not just my people, but every system in the quadrant, maybe the galaxy. Rourke whistled. That's a lot of responsibility for a slave girl. Lyra's eyes hardened. I was never a slave. The chains were an illusion. A way to hide me, protect me from Varney's spies. But the Vrakel sold me out. They saw a chance to make credits. Rourke sipped his coffee. You're telling me that I didn't just buy a princess. I bought the key to the most dangerous tech vault in history. Yes, Liara said simply. And now that you've sheltered me, you're part of this. Varnies won't stop. He'll hunt you, your crew, your friends. You can't run far enough. Rourke chuckled darkly. Always knew I'd die for something stupid. Didn't think it'd be royalty. Liara stared at him, her tone serious. You don't have to die. Help me reach the vault first. If I activate it, I can rally the remaining loyalists. We can rebuild, and you'll be rewarded beyond imagination. What makes you think I care about thrones and empires? Rourke asked. Because I've watched you, Liara said. You pretend to be a mercenary, a smuggler, but you don't leave people behind. That's not the heart of a pirate. Rourke was silent for a moment, her words sinking in. Before he could reply, Briggs' voice crackled over the intercom. Commander, we've picked up chatter on the long-range scanner. Varney's fleet is mobilizing. They know we're alive. Rourke stood up. Looks like your cousin's not waiting around. Liara rose as well, determination on her face. Then we move faster. I can guide you to the vault's location. It's on a dead planet, Nathara. But getting there won't be easy. Nothing ever is, Rourke muttered. Briggs, prepare the ship. We're heading to Nathara. Briggs protested over the comms. Commander, the ship's not ready for another fight. We don't have time, Rourke replied. Patch her up on the way. He turned back to Liara. You better be right about this vault, princess. Because if I'm going to get killed, I want it to be for something more than a throne. Liara's expression softened for a brief moment. Thank you, Commander. Don't thank me yet, Rourke said, walking toward the bridge. I'm still deciding if this is bravery or stupidity. Liara followed, her steps steady despite the weight of her past. She wasn't just a prisoner anymore. She was a leader rising from the ashes of a fallen empire, and the human who accidentally bought her was now her only chance. As the Iron Raven roared back to life, its damaged engines burning through space. Neither Rourke nor Liara knew what awaited them on Nathara, but one thing was certain: whatever power the Vault of Echoes held, it was enough to change the fate of the galaxy. And Liara intended to claim it. The Iron Raven streaked through the stars, its patched-up engines humming just enough to keep the ship alive. The distant dead planet, Nathara, loomed ahead, gray, cold, and lifeless. No vegetation, no cities, just a barren wasteland covered in ash and broken stone. Commander Rourke stood on the bridge, staring at the planet on the screen. Beside him, Liara watched in silence, her face solemn. So that's Nathara, Rourke muttered. Not exactly a tourist spot. Liara nodded. It was once the heart of our empire's science and knowledge. But after the wars, the planet was bombed, poisoned, reduced to this. But deep underground, the Vault of Echoes remains, untouched, waiting. Briggs frowned, checking the scanners. I'm not picking up life signs, but something's down there. Energy readings, deep under the surface. That's the vault, Liara confirmed. Rourke crossed his arms. And what happens if we open it? What are we unleashing? Liara met his gaze, her voice calm but heavy. Knowledge. Technology far beyond any species in the galaxy. Enough to rebuild worlds. Or destroy them. Rourke stared at her for a moment, then looked away. And you? What will you do with it? I'll restore balance, she said. Unite my people, stop my cousin, and end the cycle of war. I have to. Rourke gave a bitter laugh. You speak like you still believe in duty and honor. But I've seen what power does to people. Liara's eyes softened. And yet, you still brought me here. Rourke shook his head. Maybe I'm just too stubborn to walk away, Briggs interrupted. Commander, we've got incoming. Small. Fleet 6 ships, all marked with Varney's signature. They're coming fast. Lyra's face went pale. He's here. Rourke's heart pounded. He could run, but even at full speed, the Iron Raven was no match for 6 enemy ships. Looked at Liara. We can't win a space fight, but if the vault is as important as you say, maybe we don't have to. Liara understood immediately. If we reach the vault, I can activate its defenses. It'll protect us, but we have to get there first. Rourke turned to his crew. Briggs, prep the landing shuttle. You stay here, keep the Raven hidden among the canyons. If we fail, get out of here. Briggs looked reluctant. And if you don't make it? Rourke smiled grimly. Then you better not waste fuel waiting. Soon, the small shuttle launched from the Iron Raven, diving toward Nithara's dead surface. Inside, Rourke piloted, Liara beside him, clutching a small device, a key only her blood could activate. The shuttle touched down amidst the gray dust. The sky was dark, clouds swirling like ash. The air was thin, but just breathable. Liara pointed to a nearby cliff. There's a hidden entrance beneath those rocks. That's our way in. They sprinted across the barren land, but the distant sound of engines roared from above. Varn's troops, armored, faceless soldiers descended fast, weapons ready. Move! Rourke barked, firing his blaster as they ran. Liara led the way, finding the camouflaged panel on the stone wall. She pressed the device against it. The ground rumbled, stone sliding apart to reveal a narrow passage illuminated by faint blue. Lights, in here! She shouted. They dashed inside just as plasma shots rained down, scorching the ground where they stood seconds ago. Inside, the tunnel stretched deep into the planet's crust. The walls were metallic, ancient yet advanced, etched with glowing symbols in languages long forgotten. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, the heart of the Vault of Echoes. Towering machines stood dormant, surrounding a central platform, where a glowing console awaited. This is it, Liara whispered. Rourke watched her approach the console. She pricked her finger, letting her blood touch the sensor. The room hummed to life, lights flickering, machines awakening after centuries of silence. Suddenly, holographic projections of ancient data and maps filled the air. Technologies, star charts, and weapon designs hovered, glowing like ghosts. Liara stood tall. With this ... we can change everything. But footsteps echoed behind them. They turned. Lord Varnes himself stood at the entrance, flanked by soldiers. He was tall, regal, his armor dark with red markings, his eyes cold and merciless. Well done, cousin, Varnes sneered. I knew you'd lead me here. And you, human, you saved me the trouble of searching. Rourke raised his blaster, but Varnes laughed. Shoot me, and my soldiers kill you both. Lower your weapon. Liara stepped forward. You'll never get the vault, Varnes. Who will stop me? You, a broken princess? Or the foolish human? Varnes mocked but Rourke smiled. Me? No, but the vault, it might not like you. At that moment, the vault's eye scanned Varnes. The lights around them glowed red. A deep, ancient voice echoed through the chamber. Unauthorized presence detected. Intruders will be eliminated. Before Varnes could react, automated defense turrets emerged, aiming directly at him and his soldiers. Liara looked at Rourke. You gambled on the vault's security. Rourke grinned. Lucky guess. Lasers fired, chaos erupted, and Varnes roared in fury. Rourke turned to Liara. You said you wanted to reshape the galaxy, Princess. Time to start. Together, they stood in the heart of forgotten power, ready to claim it or die trying. The Vault of Echoes shook with the sounds of battle. Red lights flashed across the ancient walls, the defense turrets firing streams of concentrated energy at Varnes' soldiers. Screams and shouts echoed through the chamber as the intruders fell one by one, disintegrated by technology built millions of years ago. Varnes, eyes burning with rage, took cover behind a steel pillar, his soldiers dropping fast. You think this changes anything, Liara? He roared over the chaos. This vault, This power, it belongs to me. Liara stood by the central console, her silver hair flowing under the glow of the ancient machines. Her purple skin shimmered, her eyes fierce and unyielding. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't running. No, cousin, she said coldly, her voice carrying power. It belongs to those who will protect, not destroy, and you have no place here. Beside her, Rourke fired his blaster, covering the flanks. Talk later, princess. This place is getting lively. Liara placed her hand on the console, feeling the ancient interface pulse beneath her palm. The vault recognized the rightful bloodline. Symbols spun in the air, languages from long-dead civilizations unlocking one by one. Suddenly, a large hologram emerged in the chamber center, a map of the galaxy, star systems highlighted with blinking lights. It showed hidden bases, technologies, and blueprints of weapons and cures for extinct diseases. This is more than just weapons, Liara whispered. It's knowledge. A library of the old universe. Rourke glanced at her between shots. That's great. But maybe we focus on not dying first. Varney saw his forces dwindling, and with a roar, he charged toward the console. His personal shield deflected the turret's shots just long enough. He tackled Rourke, slamming him against a pillar. You filthy human. You don't deserve to stand here. Varney spat, raising a blade, but Rourke wasn't out yet. With a grunt, he twisted, knocking Varney's off balance and smashing a fist into his face. The two men fought brutally, fists and elbows colliding in a dirty brawl among the echoes of ancient power. Liara watched, torn between finishing the vault's activation or helping Rourke. But she made her choice. She wouldn't let her human ally die. She grabbed a discarded blaster and aimed. Varney's! She called. He turned, and she fired. The blast hit his shield, cracking it. Another shot, and the shield collapsed. Varney's staggered, just as Rourke delivered a final punch that sent the warlord crashing to the floor. Bleeding and furious, Varney's tried to crawl, but Liara stood over him now, blaster in hand. It ends here, she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. You destroyed our family, our empire. I should kill you. Varney smiled, bloodied. Then do it, princess. Be just like me. Lyra's hand trembled, but she didn't shoot. No, she said, stepping back. You'll face justice, not death. Rourke stood beside her, catching his breath. You're braver than me. I have shot him. She smiled faintly. That's why I must lead, Rourke. Because if we repeat their cruelty, nothing changes. With Varney's captured, Liara completed the vault's activation. The system accepted her as the rightful heir, and the ancient AI spoke again. Acknowledged. The House of Alendra is restored. Awaiting orders, High Sovereign. Liara looked at the holographic galaxy. She could reshape entire worlds, heal broken planets, end diseases, advance civilizations. But more than that, she could unify her scattered people. I will restore the empire, she said quietly. But this time, it will be an empire of peace, not war, Rourke chuckled. Big dreams, princess. Liara looked at him, eyes warm. And I'll need people like you to help make them real. Briggs' voice buzzed through the comms. Commander, enemy fleet is retreating. What's happening down there? Rourke grinned, tapping his cum. Tell the crew to stand by. The princess just got her crown back. Liara turned to Rourke. You asked for a reward, didn't you? Damn right, Rourke smiled. She laughed softly. You'll get more than credits, Rourke. You've earned a place in history. Together, they left the vault, the lights dimming but not dying, awaiting the next chapter in the galaxy's story. Rourke had accepted a strange slave as payment. But in the end, he didn't just free a princess, he helped a leader rise. And in the shadows of the stars, their story was only beginning.